Laid back and kicking it. Let's head back to the studio. Here's Rod.
Wow. Welcome, everybody, to Hour 2 of the Rod Pedersen Show. It is episode 236 of Canada's morning sports talk show. Oh, it's just a blur. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I'm reading Twitter here. Farhan's tweeting. Our boy Zach in Calgary's tweeting at Farhan. Our show is tagged, blah, blah, blah. It's nice to be part of the discussion, isn't it? Coming up, Armani Brooks of the Saskatchewan Rattlers and a veteran of the NBA G League. Looking forward to that. And Trevor Weisgerber, Moose Jaw, AAA Warriors. Dude had a kidney transplant successfully. He's back on the bench. I'm excited to talk about that. All kinds of comments coming in. Elisa McMillan watching from Ottawa. Her husband's Nolan McMillan, Red Blacks guard that was with us earlier a couple of weeks back. She says schools need to bring back football. They took it out of so many schools, even if it's only flag football. I think high schools should have contact football. It's just like everything in football hit at once in the pandemic. And is it just us that are seeing it? Like I for those that weren't listening right off the start, I had a long time Grey Cup winning coach call me this morning, a very dear friend of mine. We talked for a long time. Well, for me, it was a long time, 20 minutes on what the CFL should do. He goes like, this is my plan if you think it's worth listening to. And he unrolled it all. But I'm thinking it's cool to come up with that, but it's not. There's people hired to do that. So it doesn't matter what I think or what this coach thinks or whatever. There's a commissioner, there's owners, there's presidents, there's governors, there's GMs that are making a lot more money than we are to make these decisions is all. So there's that. So there's the survival of the CFL. There's opening the border. There's getting testing kits. She's talking about putting football back in schools. There's so many things that need to be addressed. Where do you start is my point. And then you got players and coaches sitting back right now on day 3 of the training camp postponement going, for instance, I'll just quote Chad Jeter specifically of the Rough Riders who said, this is getting old. Do I need to find a job, CFLPA? And I don't know if the CFLPA wrote him back. One half of me is going, it's none of my business. I'll stay out of it. The other half of me is saying, I would go find a job because this was going to be the poll question, as I mentioned. We settled on another one, but how long's the delay going to be? We're looking at least minimum, what? 6 more weeks?
At least.
And you on day 2 of training camps going, okay, this is getting old.
And I feel like that's a pretty safe assessment. 6 weeks? And I feel like...
Oh, for what? 6 weeks for what? Like, to start training camp? They're nowhere close to playing.
I feel like you're 6 weeks to either start or get through training. Something like that. You got at least 3 weeks of 2 to 3 weeks of training camp. Even if you accelerate that, you got at least a week to kind of before training camp and 2 weeks of quarantine time for sure. So that's 6 weeks right there. Like, so if you just put in your mind that the CFL is 6 weeks away from blank, whatever day it is, tomorrow, 6 weeks from tomorrow. We go another day, we haven't heard anything, it's 6 weeks from that day. It's always 6 weeks from when we hear something to when they start. That's a pretty safe assessment, I think. So the further this goes on, you can see where the timeline starts to shift. It's not going to happen quickly.
Interesting things you're hearing. Nelson writes in and says Vernon Adams was encouraging players to get jobs with Uber and Skip because they're flexible to their training schedule. Vernon Adams came up last week because a friend of his was the guy I was talking to in Montreal last week that said Vernon's take on this is he's finally making some money, signed a good deal in Montreal in the CFL, and then this happens. And Vernon had mentioned to my friend that he'd been eating beans, over the years in his career. He now has a child to support. I can't even begin to say how many times I've said to you, or even in my own mind, saying, what did people think this league was? Did the events of the last 2 months just expose the fact that the guys aren't making big money? The fact that Chad Jeter's now having to decide if he's got to go get a job because they haven't been paid for 6-7 months. Now they would start having a little money coming in, and it's not. I don't know what people thought that it was. And people are upset saying, oh, David Braley's just lying. He's not even telling the truth that if there's no season this year, they might fold. It's not dumb. It's not stupidity.
No, but
it's ignorance. You don't want to admit this is the situation that the CFL's in. Open your GD eyes. Why is this a fight?
There is just a severe lack of self-awareness and realization to your situation. I mean, too many people start a business and it's been 3 months. I'm not making any money. How come I'm not making any money? It takes 3 to 5 years to start profiting when you start a new business as an entrepreneur. Too many people start a career and say, Rod, how come I'm not in your job? I've been in this for 6 months, a year.
I get it all the time.
I don't have my own show.
I get it all the time.
I want to be on play-by-play. Put in the time. Put in some patience. Or, how many athletes now, I'm not speaking for all of them, but you mean I'm not going to make $100,000? You mean I'm not going to make $3 million for the next 40 years? No, your career is going to be 10 years or less. Likely only a couple because it's so competitive. So that $10 million you make a year in the NFL or 50 or whatever it ends up being in your sport, or that $300,000 a year you're making as a quarterback in the CFL over 10 years, $3 million, easy math, has to last you the next 40 years. So you can't live like you're making $300,000 a year. You got to live more like you're making 75, 85 a year. And then you can stretch that out and live that kind of lifestyle for a long time.
Metal Shingle Guy writes in on the Prairie Mobile text line, 306-840-8777. That's 840-8777. He says, he, i.e. Trudeau, just extended the border till June 21st. No CFL in 6 weeks, I'm afraid. That from Metal Shingle Guy, which we knew the border's going to remain closed for at least another month. So for the CFL players that are sitting back, not even twiddling their thumbs, but like tapping their foot on the floor, going, this is getting old. So now will you seek the help that you need in terms of dealing with this? Because if you missed us in hour one, I said it was all fun. Running at home, running 5K, running stairs, got your home gym. It was all fun. Then training camp was supposed to hit, and now it's a panic. Nothing's really changed, dude. And by the way, people are writing in. This is the other funny thing that I'm laughing at. People saying, even the owners. I was directed to a podcast that our friend Joey Alfieri hosted yesterday on TSN Montreal Radio, and he had the president of the Alouettes on. The guy's new. I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. He's the president of the Alouettes going, this is not a bailout from Ottawa. It's not a bailout because we're going to give them ads. We're going to give them sideline ads. We're going to give them ads on TV. Oh, come on! Stop pissing on our head and telling us that it's raining. It is a bailout. I mean, one of the biggest reasons why the CFL is where it is because the owners can't get out of their own way. Oh, the salary cap's going to go up. We're going to give the top quarterback $750,000. They can't get out of their own way.
No.
That's the biggest problem, and that's why Farhan, go back and listen to the interview with Farhan. Do we have faith that the CFL leaders can get them back on the field and get the funding from Ottawa? Do we have that faith? I asked that in my column on Sunday. I'm just not sure that I do. I'm sorry.
And you're right to ask the question. You're absolutely right to question it because there's no plan. And until there's a plan, what are we doing?
I know.
What are we doing, right? People hate that. The biggest one for me that I've had, and I do this all the time, whether it's family, whether it's girlfriends, whatever, is I get in the car and I start driving, right? But we don't know where we're going yet. And it just annoys them to all get. I don't like sitting still. That's the problem. I don't want to sit still and sit in the car while we decide. But they've always been, well, we haven't decided where we're going for dinner. What direction are you going to drive in? And I think that's kind of the same situation that the league's in. With no direction, with no plan, there's not a lot of faith in the other people in the car to where you're going. You're just driving to drive. And now all you're doing is wasting our time. And so I sympathize with that. And I think that's where we're in right now. People just want some communication. I think that's the biggest thing. They want to know where they're going. They want a plan.
But nobody knows, Darren.
But nobody knows.
I can't even fault. I mean, I'm seeing it from fans saying, how come I'm not hearing from the league whether there's a season or not? Dude, the season's postponed. That's all you need to know. When something changes, we'll let you know. They don't need to be like Trudeau and having news conferences every day because they'd be saying the same thing every day.
Not daily, but they're missing something that's giving you the faith that they can get us out of it. There's something missing.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you there, but what are they going to say? What are they going to say? Back to the peeing on my head and telling me it's raining thing. Come on, be real. I'm not sure they're capable of that. That's all.
Yeah.
Raj ran for Bronco Plumbing and Heating, your factory authorized Bryant Furnace dealer, as we await Armani Brooks of the Saskatchewan Rattlers. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Clark's telling me he's ready. We're going to go to a break and we'll come back. He's in Texas, I believe. I just want to tell you this. Brennan writing me. Seems like a good dude. He's got a junior hockey jersey on in his avatar. He says, hey, at NHL, I was up late last night and figured out a solution for an 11-game end to the regular season and playoffs. I really don't think it's that difficult. Ratings would be lit. What do you think? At Rod Pedersen Show, at Jay and Dan. It's cool that you probably spent all weekend coming up with this elaborate plan. With this and $1.50, you'll get a bag of chips. I feel like I'm telling everybody that there's no Santa Claus.
I know. What?
I'm sorry.
They so badly want this to happen, and just like the mayor in Vegas, right? Well, we can get the casinos open. If it spreads, it spreads. Well, are you going to be in there? Well, no, I got a family. Like, what are you talking about? It's the same thing, with us. We can easily say, well, just quarantine for a couple of weeks and then get back to playing.
Oh, so much.
Not that easy.
Armani, just one sec. Jack in Calgary writes, in Alberta, he says, times are changing. If the CFL doesn't change with it, we're going to lose. In all honesty, the CFL should have changed 5+ years ago. With that coach I talked to this morning, when he gave me his plan, just like this, but for the CFL, and I said, here's all the reasons why it might not work. I mean, one problem comes up and he's screwed. He goes, well, we're going to find out whether the CFL is worth saving or not. Because you know what? If we don't pull together and it folds, we'll just watch the NFL. We're really going to find out what this league means to this country. We'll be back. Going to Texas next. It's the Rod Pedersen Show, Facebook Live, Game Plus TV Network, and listen live at rodpedersen.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen on demand. For more of the Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.